Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you, and welcome to another class of Digital Skillup Africa. I am your facilitator, Nancy Baba Ali, and this is the project management class. I also have with me at the back end my co-facilitator, Mr. Kingsley. He sends his regards. so welcome to class. It's nice to have everyone here one more time. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you had an amazing day. So without any further ado, I believe we can proceed with today's class. So in the last class, which was yesterday, Monday, we had the topic project scheduling and tools. We spoke about project scheduling and tools, and we spoke about the critical path method and project scheduling techniques. We had in-depth understanding, right, on what the critical path method is, how it takes, what are the steps you need to take in scheduling, in time management as a project manager, and all that entails as a project manager when it comes to activities, milestones, and the likes of them. But without me saying everything, can anyone please add in the comment section what you learned from the last class? Let us have an interactive class today, please. Good evening, MM. Good evening, please. Good evening, Tutuola. Tutuola. Okay. Sarah said she haven't watched the last video because she was distracted. Okay. Anyone else can add in the comment section what they learned in the last class, in the previous class. Hi, mommy. Thank you. I'm well today. Hope you're well today. Before you came in, I was asking if anybody can tell me what they learned in the last class. Good evening, Stella. I hope you all had an amazing day. Hi, Dami. Okay, we have somebody. Fisayo said, I learned about dependency. Okay, that's really nice. So you learned the 3 steps or 3 methodologies in dependencies. That's really good. Project time management process. That was what Ola BC said she learned. Joel Bagai said milestones. We learned landmark achievements during the course of a project. That's beautiful. Abiodun said, I learned about the processes of project time management. That's nice. Siphon said the 3 types of dependencies. Okay. Learned about project schedules, dependencies, and project flowcharts from Comfort Grades. Tony said we learned about project sequencing. Wow, I'm glad you all learned a lot. It means I wasn't just talking. Isaac said I learned that project scheduling helped me have control. Learned about project management process, planning schedules, defining activities, and other process involved. Great, great, great. All these are beautiful pointers. Sorry, guys. The network locked me out for a minute, and I'm back. So yeah, um, sorry about the little challenge over my sound at my end. Um, so yeah, I was reading in the comments about what everybody learned, and I saw that a lot of persons um were able to write what they learned in the previous class, and that's really beautiful. Otsu Precious said, you spoke about importance of project schedule, and one of them is managers often cite delivery project on time as one of their biggest challenges rather. Joel Bagay said, I learned about sequence which as a flow of activities and so many other things that I'm very proud that you all were able to learn. So, yeah, without further ado, I think we can proceed into today's class, right? And from the previous class, is or does anybody have anything that they'd like to add that might have been missed by myself? Um, that you feel everybody in the class should know? Ruben asked the question, are we going to have case study project as example in your life class, implementing all that has been taught? I mean, like a real life project. You all are meant to have groups, project teams whereby you're supposed to have hands-on practical projects, right? More of like hypothesis, but still have real life deliveries that you have to implement with your team, with your team members. So Stella said, I also learned that activity attributes provide more information such as predecision, succession, logical relationship, etc. related to the activity. All these are very beautiful things that I am glad you all learned. Okay, so great. So we spoke about what you should be expecting from this week in the previous class, which is how to be able to read and use a Gantt chart, how to implement proper project schedules, how to understand relationship between estimating resources and schedules, and also what project management tools you'll be needing and how to implement them, when to implement them, and the likes of that, right? Okay, Victoria said we spoke about the three um, types of dependencies. It's very true, very, very important. um, who can tell me what the the three types of dependencies are? It's not a rocket science question. We had this yeah, so I'm sure that you can all relate to. You can remember the three types of dependencies. Don't worry, Stella, we're going to get into that. And we already spoke about that yesterday in the previous class. Nobody in the comment section can tell me. Okay. Okay, so a few persons have been replied. Fisayo mentioned them with Adedipe external, discretionary, and mandatory. Yes, these are all the three types of dependencies. Ruth was able to say it, Modupe, Oluwashin, Akimule, Leah. Oh my god. So Pinky, Toby, Victor, you all are correct. These are the three types of dependencies. Who can tell me what the discretionary dependency is all about? Who can briefly give me a sum up of what discretionary um, dependency is about? Okay. Pelumi said it's defined by the project team and is the soft logic that should be used with care. Great. Discretionary dependencies by Adedipe Bisola said. Um, discretionary dependencies is talking about allowing teammates to contribute the opinions to the project, but at the same time have to be careful with it. Okay, great. Discrepancies typically refer to differences of variations in decision making processes or practices that arise from individual team judgment rather from mandatory procedures. Thank you so much for that technical definition, Temitayo. Well,
Chef Tabitha said, a discretionary dependency in project management is a relationship between tasks that is based on best practices, preference, or expert judgment rather than a hard logic. These are very beautiful explanations. Joel said discretionary dependencies where the stakeholders are given free hand to contribute. Okay. Oyetunde said they are the ones defined or decided by teammates. That is factors that relate with the members of the team and should be used with care. Use it too much and the team becomes lax and used to it. Thank you so much. So Silas said discretionary dependence is a sequence chosen for efficiency or preference. A round of applause for everybody that been able to attribute to contribute to this or to this class, to the recap. I'm really impressed by all that you have to say from the previous classes. It means that we all picked up something, and I'm really happy and proud of that. So, yeah, I think we can move straight into today's class, right? Because you guys are so amazing, and you sound like you know all of this. You have it already uh, in the bag. So where we stopped were in the last where we stopped in the last class was pretty much on the network diagrams. And I'm just going to start from there before we move to the next slide, which is the diagram itself. So we said network diagrams are the preferred technique for showing activity sequencing, right? And a network diagram is a schematic display of the logical relationships among or sequencing of project activities. And we also spoke about two main formats are the arrow and precedence diagramming method. So in the next slide that I'm about to show you, I'm going to show you what a network diagram is, right? What a network diagram is and all that it entails. So in a network diagram, as such as this, we have some important methods in using this. We have the AOA, which is the activity on arrow network diagrams, and we have the knots or circles. As you can see, we have them in little circles. We have them in little circles, and then we have the arrows that are pointing at each of the knots. Dollars, yes, this is project management class. And then we have the show of the whole graph. The arrows help you to point where the beginning to the ending of the sequencing flow is meant to look like. And I explained to a lot of persons not to be frightened by it. It is just a diagram. It helps you to have a more clear view of what should be expected from both team members. It helps you calculate the time frame, and it helps make your work so much easier and neater. So in this note, we're assuming that in each of the knots or circles, we have um, I'm using the examples. We have one from number 1 to number 8, and as you can see, number 1 being from the starter time. From the starter time, we have the first node, the first arrow, the second arrow, and the third arrow, and this is put in alphabetical order too, regardless of the numbering and the nodes or circles. We have A equal to 1, B equal to 2, and C equal to 3. Well, as you can see under the notes, we say we assume all durations are in days, right? So A equals to 1 means activity A has a duration of 1 day. And B equals to 2 is assumption that um, the second task or activity, the second activity or duration of activity or task should take 2 days. Likewise, C, D, E, F, G, H, I to J. Um, you could have as much AOAs, right? Arrows and nodes, depending on how you want to, you know, make your work more understandable or readable to your clients or to your team members or to stakeholders. So, yeah, like I said, in the next slide, we'll be moving to the pointers. So, what that diagram is simple, in a simple layman term, is arrow diagramming method, ADM. And in arrow diagramming method, we have the AOA, which I just showed you in the previous slide. We have activities are represented by arrows, and nodes or circles are the starting and ending points of activities and can only show finish to start dependencies, right? So it's just pretty much the timing that takes in each of the stage or in each of the sequencing or in each of the flow charts of a project up to the end. So in the next slide, don't worry, we're going to meet the diagram in front, but I need to explain to you pretty much a um an overview of how to get to that diagram. Um Thank you, Karina. She said there are three sets of dependencies: mandatory, discretionary, and external, which was what I asked right before this class. So the process for creating AOA diagrams, we have find all the activities that start at node 1, which is the first node from the diagram, right? Find all the activities that start at node 1. Draw their finished nodes and draw arrows between node 1 and those finished nodes. Put the activity letter or name and duration estimate on the associated arrows. So I don't know. I feel like I have to be going back and forth, but we're still going to meet the diagram in front. So please just take notes. And for persons that maybe had taken like screenshots to be able to maintain the flow and understand this process, that's a very good point. Very good way to go about it. So when you've created a node or a circle, you have to create an arrow. And once you create that arrow, make sure that the arrow moves to the from the starter to the end. So from left, your arrow is supposed to be pointing right. Depending on I'm using my format from left, which is the node or the circle, to the right, which is where the nodes and arrows are meant to flow till the end. And then in each of them you have to have the estimated time, and also you could put a description in those arrows just to show the network, the flow of the project. Okay, Oye Tomi said, "Hope you can get something from today's class." Don't worry, you'll get it. You'll get when you get home. I'm sure it will be much more easier and safe transit. So continuing drawing the network diagram, working from left to right, and like I said earlier, look for bursts and merges. Bursts occur when a single node is followed by two or more activities. A merge occurs when two or more nodes precede a single node. So represent activity in a day. Yes, Igba Lawumi Balogun. Yes, the example you gave is very much valid. So yeah, so when you are trying to split a node or an arrow, it's called a bust. But then when you're supposed to when you want to merge, like for example, in the node we had where number 3 was merging with number 5 and number 2 was also merging with 5. That's called a merger, when they have to merge into one node. But then when they are separating, when they separate, it's called a bus too as well, right? When two are meeting, it's called a merger. When they go in flow, just one, it's called a bust. So it's just like, for example, your Excel sheets. I'm sorry, or your sheets, Google Sheets. Whenever you are trying to merge two boxes, you will notice that there is a feature called a merger. It's pretty much the same thing. This, but instead of you merging two into one box, this is you. Yeah, it's you merging two boxes into one. Sorry, it's you merging two arrows into one node. Merger is in a lot of softwares and the likes of them. So I'm just using examples from everything I can find. So yes, and then continue drawing the project network diagram until all activities are included on the diagram that have dependencies. No, no, no. A bust is when the arrow is moving. It's when the in a diagram you have each node moving in a flow. While a merger is when you see two arrows pointing to one node, like two activities meeting in one major activity, or meeting to a what do you call it, to a task rather, right? Or meeting to a task. Did you understand that, did you pair? I don't want to lead you astray. So yeah, that's it for the bust and merger. And then we also have another pointer, which is to continue drawing the project network diagram until all activities are included on the diagram that have dependencies. So what this is just saying is that when you've created each node, God, sorry, when you've created each node, when you've created each node, you have to make sure that each node can be dependent on the next one. Oh no, 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 no. Ola Dayo. Okay. A bust is when there is a normal sequence, like a flow, right? From a node to a node to a node. It's just a straight line. That's a normal bust. Or like from A, we have 3 to 5 to 8 to however. While a merger is when like you have number 3 and number 5 merging with number 7, when two arrows intertwine to meet another node, meaning that those tasks, those two tasks are dependent on the next stage, or you need those two tasks in order to move to the next stage. Grace, please don't be lost. So, please, all of you, don't be lost. So, it's not really that complicated. And don't worry, we're still on the same topic. You won't get lost. You won't get lost. So Ijal said it's like a teamwork or partnering between the two arrows. Thank you, Ijai. It's like a teamwork or partnering between the two arrows, trying to let you know what is happening in the node, or what is in the node. Yes, Ijai has said it. Please, please don't be confused. Please, I beg you to don't be confused. Just Follow the class, and I promise you won't be lost. It's very easy. It's just like when you have an organogram and you try to link it from maybe the like from the CEO to the manager. You can see that flow, right? But for example, let's say the manager and the project manager have to work together in order to report to the directing to the director or the managing director, right? So that merging is just like, for example, those two arrows coming together, pointing directly to the director. Does that make sense now? Ah, God of Israel. Let's just move. I'm sure if you take your time, you'll be able to understand. Okay, Igal Lavumi Balogun said it could be explained this way: bus normal flow 1, 2, 3, 4, merge each C, e.g. is 1 plus 2. It's going to confuse them, but that's a very good point. I understand it too. So we have the other point which says God, continue drawing the project network diagram until all activities included included on the diagram that have dependencies. And as a rule of thumb, all arrowheads should face toward the right and no arrow should cross on an AOA network diagram. Thank you to other persons that really understand. I promise you, to the persons that are lost, if you take your time to go back um to the video, you'll be able to understand it. But just for the sake of every other person, let me just go back to the slide and try to explain it one last time. So, when you are looking at this diagram right now, right about now, you will see that there is a node or a circle, right? And in each circle, they have numbers. You can see from the first, we have circle number one, we have circle number two, we have levels, circle number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, up to 8. And if you notice, these circles are not just there, they have arrows that are leading and connecting all of the circles, right? All of these circles are connected. So you see these arrows. These arrows are very important because they are called from number 1 to 2 to 5. These arrows, or 1, 2, 3, 4, you can see that these arrows are called busts. They move in their own free uh, structure. They move in a very defined structure, which is just straight to the point. But then you see whereby number 3 is interconnecting with number 2 to 5, right? Those are called mergers. And yeah, those are called mergers. And if you also notice, number 5 and number 7 also merge with number 6, right? Right. I hope you're understanding them. So there is a bust and then there is a merger. So I hope with this point I've been able to explain this diagram and the AOA diagram, the network diagram. Okay, I'm going to proceed because I think I've explained it properly well this time around. Okay, so in we've already explained the process of the AOA, and we are now going to precedence diagramming method, which is PDM. Ah, thank God you guys finally understand. I'm happy you all understand now. No more joy than this. Yes, when it's expanding, it's a bust. Thank you, Olusola, for understanding. That is perfect. Yes, promise. Chris, thank you for understanding. Um, every other person, I hope you understand, though, because it's not that deep. Okay, thank you so much, follow care. Yes, 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 yes. I am glad you all understand this. Okay, so now moving to PDM, which is precedence diagramming method. Thank you, Adebayo, Hilary, and Johnny Israel. So activities are represented by boxes. Uh, Arrows show relationship between activities, and more popular than ADM, excuse me, method, and used by project management software, better at showing different types of dependencies. So PDM is another form of diagramming. It is more. Thank you so much, Nancy. Oh, my namesake. Yes. So for PDM, it's also another form of diagramming. This has to do with more of dependencies as well. It is when you can show, like for example, a dependency has to rely on another dependency in order to be able to move, or um, a dependency has to be done before moving to the next dependency. No, 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 no. Part is different. PDM is different. Okay, Robson. Yeah, two different things. Don't worry, Elumi is here. You're going to catch up. So for this PDM, I'm going to show you how the diagram is meant to look like and also explain it to you. Great. So in tax dependencies, the nature of the relationship between two linked tags. You link tags by defining a dependency between their finish and start dates. For example, the context caterers task must finish before the start of the determining menus task. There are four kinds of tax dependencies in Microsoft projects. So this is a Microsoft project. Microsoft project. This is a future rather in it, right? Whereby when you're using a Gantt chart, when you're using a Gantt chart, you tend to see these dependencies. But then in some other forms of diagramming, you can just have a way of freestyling and using it because some of the softwares are paid. You have to pay for some of these softwares to be able to use them. But then for persons that cannot be able to pay for some of the subscriptions or the likes of them, we're just giving you some of the features that you can use from your own end in your own diagramming platform or whatever form of um, report that you want to use. You could use this as a way to just make your work more easier and effective and cleaner. But yeah, for persons that can use the MS project that are willing to subscribe to that, sure. And some also like Primavera, you need to have license. You need to be a licensed project manager in order to use some of those softwares. So, but we're just showing you some of the features that you can use that can still be professional and still understandable and readable for yourself and your clients, stakeholders, or team members. So, if you notice, there is a finish. There are four types of dependencies, and in those dependencies, we have finish to start to start, finish to finish, and start to finish. Right. And I pretty feel like they're much explanatory. If you can see from finish to start tax, you can see that tax B cannot start until tax A finishes. Hence the arrow going down, meaning that tax A has to be done, has to be clearly stated, has to be achieved before you can clearly move to tax B. And then in the second tax dependency, we have start to start, which is SS for short. And we have tax B cannot start until A starts, right? So meaning that you have to start with tax A before tax B can be done. In this kind of case, what is just trying to say in what this tax B section is trying to say is that in order for you to move with tax B, there there should be some level or some achievements done in tax A before you can freely move into tax B. It could be stated that it is somewhat flexible. Yes, comfort graded like waterfall. Yes, like waterfall. For persons that don't know what waterfall methodology is, waterfall methodology is pretty much more of a flow of project management. Instead, it's not as rigid as as hybrid. It's sorry, yeah, it's as rigid as hybrid. I'm sorry, I'm mixing it up. Waterfall is more of a direct flow. Sorry, waterfall is more of a direct flow whereby you have to move from one step to the other step, from one step to the other step. You have to, let's say you have step A, B, C, D. You have to move in that order A, B, C, D. Unlike Agile, that you can move A, C, B, D or B, C, D, A, waterfall, you have to move by the sequence A, B, C, D. You have to move directly. But hybrid is more of a what do you call it? A combination of waterfall and agile. It's a bit flexible but not too flexible. You can start some of the tasks or activities and still freely move to the next task or activity and still revisit back the step that you have started. Yes, Ijai. I'm sorry, I was a bit mixing it up. I'm sorry for almost leading you astray. Yes, Joy. It's regular, like ascending order. Yes. So that is from start to start. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, Silas. Tax A don't have to finish a particular tax before tax B start. There just has to be some level of um what do you of activity done in each of this tasks or in the flow process. So yeah, so in the third point we have finish to finish, and tax B cannot finish until tax A finishes. So for finish to finish meaning that each of these tasks have to be finished, has to be ticked, that it has been completely been done before you move to the next task, and make sure that that also task is much more finished to is finished before you can proceed to another task or another um, um, milestone or um, yeah, let's just call it task. Yes, to be loba. Yeah, waterfall is more like an hierarchical flow. Yes. And then we have start to finish, which is SF. So tax B cannot finish until tax A starts. So there are times whereby you're starting a tax, right? And you have to make sure that you're done with the other tax before you start the major tax. Yeah, it depends on which one you're speaking, Adidipe. You have to explain, is it, are you talking about FF or FS or SF? Yes, Remy Lekun. It's not really packed. It's just maybe you're a bit busy or um I don't know. The It's not that compact. When you have the document, you'll be able to fully understand what I'm saying, right? So do not worry. You'll get to have the material, the reading material, and you'll be able to understand it clearly better. So yeah, so these are the four types of tax dependencies. FS, which is finish to start, SS, which is start to start, FF, which is finish to finish, and SF, which is start to finish, right? You're supposed to you're supposed to have access to these materials as soon as possible, Stephen. Okay, Adedipe, you were talking about SS, right? So what did you say? Until tax A is completed, tax B cannot commence. No. Each of the two can be started, but you have to make sure to initiate. Yes, you have to start initiating some level of work in tax A in order to start tax B. It's just like saying, um, I don't really want to complicate everything. It's just like saying 10 over 10, you splitting things into 50-50. Like I give you two tasks for today, right? I tell you, um, you have a deadline of next week. This is just an example, everybody. It's not me. It's me explaining S to S for Adipe. It's, for example, I give you two tasks, right? And I give you this task expecting 100, but you start doing one task, and then let's say you start doing the first task and you've been able to achieve 50%, then you start doing the other tasks and then you reach 50%. You may have not been able to reach the deadline that I gave you for each of those tasks, but you've been able to do a substantial amount, right? That still keeps us in track with the timeline. Did you understand that? I hope you really understand that. Yes, Stephen. Tax must commence simultaneously. So let's move to the next slide. Don't worry, the moment you get the slides, it's very much very self-explanatory. It's very much self-explanatory too. So we have estimating activity resources. So before estimating activity durations, you must have a good idea of the quantity and type of resources that will be assigned to each activity. Resources are people, equipment, and materials. You'll get the slide hopefully before the end of the week, Malaika. Of course, for me, you have access to the slides. You have access to the documents. Do not worry yourself. So back to what I was saying. Estimating activity resources. Before estimating activity durations, which is timelines or timeframes, you must have a good idea of the quantity and type of resources that will be assigned to each activity. Resources are people, equipment, and materials. So, in the last class, I explained to you how budget is very important, how you getting to know, you calculating how much materials may be needed, whether you have to pay for subscriptions, whether you have to pay for research or for materials, depending on what kind of project you're handling. If you're handling maybe an entertainment project, like I gave you again in the first class, in the previous class, I said you would have to measure how the whole process that is going to take you to get just an event hall. Sometimes to secure an event center can take you as long as a month. So it depends on how you're able to tackle that issue, whether you have to go through a booking problem, a booking process, and so many other processes. So you have to consider all of that. You also have to consider maybe how many parking tickets how many parking slots you'll be getting from the event hall. You'll also be discussing how many how their perks comes with the center. Does it come with decorations? Does it come with lights? Does it come with power? Right, I'm just using for like an event center for anybody that might be project managing in an event or entertainment sector. So you have to put mind of these things, of all these little um pointers that you may think are trivial but are actually very necessary. Yes, Idake, you must understand today's class. It's not hard. I promise you, it's not hard. So thank you, Yetunde. I look forward to having you. We look forward to having you. So um the second point is consider important issues in estimating resources. How difficult will it be to do specific activities on this project? What is the organization's history in doing similar activities? Are the required resources available? Right. Are the required resources available? So these are things you have to consider. Let's use the construction. Let's use construction now. When you are planning for a building or a home or a space, you have to consider um how quick are we going to be getting sharp sand, how quick are we going to be getting water, how quick are we going to be getting cement, because all of these things also have to you also have to consider logistics. You have to consider logistics. You have to consider your suppliers. You have to consider if there is a time frame in each contract that by maybe the end of every week this material and resources is supposed to be on ground. If there's any defaulting, maybe from your end, maybe from payment from the organization, or defaulting from the other suppliers in the fact that they are not giving you the materials you paid for, or they are not sticking to the end of the bargain. Maybe they're giving you less quantity than you've paid for, right? These are things you have to put into consideration to make sure that each of the processes, each of the stages are achievable and um, are being controlled by you, the project man. Is something that can be controlled by you, the project manager, to make sure that the project which is optimum success or successful goal. You can be able to get a successful report by the end of the day from the projects that you are working on. So we have, what is the organization's history in doing similar activities? If the organization have suppliers or already have a contact base that they're already in, that they're already using, that they're already in use with, if if they are new and they do not have all this contact base, it could be a bit somewhat challenging, but it could also be to your own advantage, because you are working, you might recommend vendors that you are used to, and vendors that you know do not thank you, Gaga. um they may be material, they could be suppliers that you're used to, and suppliers that make sure that they deliver, than you getting the organization suppliers that may not be as loyal as they say they are, or are bypassing, I don't know what word to use, but are not meeting up to the requirements that you, or the standard that you have for the contract or for the project. So you have to put that into consideration. And are the required resources available? Most of the time, due to poor project management, um, some of the materials or some of the resources may be over squandered, maybe maybe under bought, may not be maybe overused. Let's just use squandered or overused at this point. They may be overused by maybe the team members and the likes of them. So you have to be very firm that these materials are meant to come at a distinctive time, and if it elapses before the time, um that is a serious problem that you should communicate to them, and they should be able to manage these resources to make sure that the project goes smoothly. And most of the time, um why I believe they act this way is because they feel like you would always have it in abundance. So you have to explain to the team members or to the contractors that each and every resources that is given is accountable for. And if this resource is not available at this time, it either damages the project, or you have to be patient to wait for the next supply, and should also still not be misused. So yes, resources maybe over, a lot of times people will always misuse resources, which is very bad. I'm sorry, which is very exhausting. So you have to be very clear and firm that these materials and these resources are limited and cannot be misused by team members or contractors or whoever you have been assigned to look after the project. So yeah, and then we have a resource breakdown structure. It's a hierarchical structure that identifies the project resources by category and type. So please, we're going to take a break so that for persons that do not know you're supposed to be taking your attendance, right now is the time for you to take attendance. Um, I will see you guys real soon, and stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. Um, so we are we're continuing from where we stopped in the previous slide, which is a resource breakdown structure. Uh, which I explained is a hierarchical structure that identifies the project resources by category and type, right? So we could move to the next slide. So in this slide we have activity duration estimating. So under durations, sorry, under durations we have which means includes the actual amount of time worked on an activity plus elapsed time, right? Plus elapsed time. That's what duration is. And then we also have effort. Effort is the number of work days or work hours required to complete a task. And effort does not normally equal duration. Thank you, Blessing. Welcome back to. And we have people doing the work should help create, estimate, and an expert should review them. So under activity duration, what this slide is just pretty much saying is that under durations, we have effort. And efforts are not durations. Effort is the actual work that you do or the actual process that you've taken in order to make sure that you are able to meet up to the time frame of that project. Understood? I really hope you understood that because I tried making that as easy as possible. Um, it's it's pretty much the effort you put into a task, the effort you put into a task to make sure that you meet up to the time frame or to the deadline that has been assigned for each task. And each time that is assigned to each task is called a duration, right? So that's what this slide is simply just saying. So when so in the next slide we have developing the schedule. So when developing a schedule, you have to use results of the other time management processes to determine the start and the end date of the project, which hence the formulas that I explained to you from start to start, from start to finish, and the likes of them, right? Thank you, Madam Foloke. Right. Um, I explained how we have finish to start, start to finish to finish, and and start to finish, right? So that's pretty much all that the things that you'll be needing when you are trying to develop a schedule. And then we have the ultimate goal is to create a realistic project schedule that provides a basis for monitoring project progress for the time dimensions of the project. So you could use KPI in the second point, right? It just pretty much says that in each of the duration and in each of the activity that have been given, right? How are you able to track each of how are you able to track that process? How are you able to track the tax? How are you able to track the efforts? How are you thank you, Ijai. How are you able to track the efforts? How are you able to track the the rate of progress or the lagging in the project, or phase or in the phase or the task, right? So that's pretty much the things you also have to look when you're scheduling. And then important tools and techniques include Gantt charts, critical path analysis, a critical chain scheduling, and PERT analysis. So a lot of persons may not know what a Gantt chart is, but a Gantt chart is pretty much one of the most important tools as a project manager that you'll be needing, right? So yeah. Okay, somebody asked what PERT is. PERT means program evaluation and review technique. It's pretty much as the same thing as the diagram that I had showed you earlier, the network diagram. Uh, it's, you can say it's pretty much the same thing, but they all have their names and their models and techniques for a reason. They're all defined differently for a reason. But at some point, you could say they have some correlations with the network diagram. I hope I answered your question. Um, Adedipe. You're welcome. So, sorry. Mapping schedules. To developing the schedule, I've explained this: Gantt chart, critical path analysis, critical chain scheduling, and PERT analysis. It's pretty much almost the same thing, like I explained earlier, and I answered Adedipe's question. So let's move to the next slide. So Gantt charts, we're here. Gantt charts provide a standard format for displaying project schedule information by listing project activities and their corresponding start and finish dates in a calendar format. Symbols include a black diamond, a milestone, thick black bars, summary tasks, lighter horizontal bars, and arrows dependencies between tasks. So, for persons that have never seen a Gantt chart before, it's just before I show you what a Gantt chart looks like. A Gantt chart is just like a calendar, right? It's a calendar they have that states that shows some duration, that shows a level of duration, that shows dependencies in the formatting on in the methodologies that all the tools that I explained to you earlier, the FF, SF, and the likes of them, right? Yeah. So a Gantt chart also shows the connections and the it's a scheduling form. It's like a scheduling platform, but it's not a scheduling platform. It just has like the datings, the durations that you need. It has a connect. It has all the dependencies. You will see it. It's not hard. It's actually very easy to use. But if you're using like if you check what's it called, your Google, I use Google apps a lot, or Google softwares a lot. If you have your Google software, your Google app under Sheets, yes, instead of Excel, you'll be able to see templates, and you'll be able to see project management templates. And under that project management templates, you'll be able to see the Gantt charts there. You can tinker with it, you can brainstorm with it, you can be what's the word, experimental with it, right? You can use it. It's just that the features that you would get from using Primavera or MS Project are paid, and that's there is free. But you, it's much more for persons that are not used to using it. It's much more complex because these other softwares make it easier for you to um, have that flow, but the with the template from Sheets, it's a bit tricky to be able to do the connections yourself and the likes of them. But I promise you, it's very easy to navigate, and it's very easy to manipulate or move around. Yeah. So this is what a Gantt chart looks like in my next slide. So as you can see, there are arrows that point down from some durations to another duration. And if you notice, some of the arrows come most likely during the end to another beginning. Like, for example, in the row of A, B, C, D to G, which is tax name, under tax name, you can write whatever description you want to use for each of those tags. And then you can see that from the top bar, there is August 12, August 2/15. This is a year and a month, right? And then we have August 9/15. Also, you'll notice you see days of the week. We have S S M T W T F S, which is Sunday, sorry, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? And it repeats all over to the end of the Gantt chart. So when you look at A, B, C, D, you'll notice that there is the duration of that tax is just for a day. And then under B, you will notice that the duration of the tax moves from Monday to Wednesday. And under C, it moves from Monday to almost Thursday. Sorry, duration B moves from Monday to Tuesday, C moves from Monday to Wednesday. And then D starts all the way from Tuesday and ends at Friday. If you can notice that the arrow moves down from A to from arrow A, it moves down to arrow D. What that means is that from tax A, you can move. You have to make sure to complete those other days, but you can still start another tax. You cannot start that tax without finishing the um the tax um of tax A under the rule A. Have you noticed that? Why is the arrow starting from Tuesday under D? It means that you have to be able to finish the tax from Monday in order for you to start that of um, Tuesday. And while B, C are still on their own, these are tasks that had to start from Monday and still move all the way to Wednesday. Yes, Stephen, it means D can't start until A finishes. Perfect. I'm so glad you people understand this Gantt chart at this point. Yes, that is pretty much what it means. So you've noticed four um from the four dependencies that I explained to you, FS, SS, FF, you'll be able to see the way the chart is manipulated with the arrows, right? And from the explanation, you'll be able to understand that each of this, each of the arrows have a meaning. Each of these dependencies have meaning. Once you understand fully what FS, SS, FF stands for and SF, you're pretty much good to go, right? You're pretty much good to go. So like comforted, like laying a foundation for a building. Yes. Yes, like laying a foundation for a building, depending on how you understand the Gantt chart and how you understand the scheduling is meant to be. I'm happy the Gantt chart is not taking so much of our time. So, in the next slide, we have adding milestones to Gantt charts. Many people like to focus on meeting milestones, especially for large projects. Yes, Stephen, E can start until B finishes. Yes, it's clear. E can start until B is complete. I really love how you people understand this Gantt chart because some people tend to find it hard to understand it. And I'm so happy. I'm so happy you understand it because once you understand this Gantt chart, you're pretty much at a very good place as a project manager. And well, congratulations to my fellow colleagues. I can start calling you guys colleagues from now. Yes. So back to milestones. Many people like to focus on meeting milestones, especially for large projects. And then second point is milestones emphasizes on important events or accomplishments on projects. And third is normally create milestones by entering tasks with a zero duration, or you can mark any task as a milestone, right? Of course, you can. Of course, you can ebook Nolua. I think I need to work on my LinkedIn, but yeah, you can. Um, so yeah. Oluwaseun, it's not a must that you finish some. Funny enough, there are some tasks that you cannot start without starting with another tax. They just they just have a way of just don't worry, you understand. They just have a way of just um coming upon you. That's hence the flexibility, that's hence the agile method, whereby you can start project A and go back to C, come back to A and do B. There are some projects that are very flexible that you can do as many tasks before you do what you think is the most priority. You can touch around and still come back and do a task. It depends on how flexible the project can be and how the scheduling is very much important and what task is of high priority, what task is of most is of most um importance. Yeah, pretty much it. So in Gantt charts there are also milestones as a future too as well. And we also explain what milestones are in the last class. That milestones are pretty much projects that sometimes have elasticity. They go very long. They can last long. They have longer durations than normal activities or normal tasks. Well, there are some that are pretty much from each step of or each phase or each um from each task are being achieved in a whole overview of a project. It could be what um what tasks were you able to achieve and conquer before moving to another, and which of the tasks was easier to achieve in the whole project overview, right? That's pretty much like how milestones are. And if you also notice, all those arrows still have a way of still interconnecting when you want to involve that in a Gantt chart. So I hope that makes sense to you. Yeah. So moving on. Thank you so much, Sarah. Moving on, we have SMART criteria. Milestones should be specific, measurable, assignable, realistic time frame. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of SMART goals. Like, as a project manager, that should be one of the most important things you should know. SMART goals. You might have heard it. It's not just even project managers that actually capitalize on SMART goals. Even digital marketers, product designers, web developers, um, data analysts. I feel like everybody has that is in whatever field, right? Be it in the corporate world, should know what SMART goals are. And even without you even seeing it on your screen, you should be able to know that S means specific, M means measurable, A means attainable or assignable at this point, R is realistic, and T is time bound or time framed. I could go on and on how this applies to a project manager, but with time you'll be able to. And in what this is just saying in a milestone is that although a milestone can go on for a longer period, you need to still be very specific. Just because yes, there's a flexibility to it, doesn't mean that you should willingly wish to waste resources or waste time on a project. Being in a project sometimes for me for more than a stipulated amount of time, for me personally, it's tiring. I feel like I cannot be on a project for a longer period of time. I have to have breaks. I have to have retreating time whereby I have to take my time to get myself together, recoup, come back, and head another and be able to tackle another project. Yes, you could be in an organization and still be a project manager and project manage so many projects. But personally, I really don't like projects that last long for like a longer period of time, like a year or no. I'd I'd rather work with short time frame projects. It's all up in your personal. Please don't follow don't follow me if you don't think that there's some persons that really enjoy having like longer time frames projects. But for me personally, I prefer having short time frame projects whereby I know that okay, I need to have this, have that, have this, have this. And I tend to put all of my all of my resources, my time into that project and make sure that I'm done with it. Than having a long-term project, I can be a bit more relaxed, and I don't really like being relaxed all the time. I really just want to get it done and over with. This is just my own side gist to apart from class. But yeah, you get the drill. So don't you think time frame contradict the initial assertion that milestone tasks are not with specific time? Yes, that's what I was explaining, Stephen. Um, as much as you want to say that milestones have a wider time frame period, it's still much better. It's still advisable that there should be a a stipulated time that most of this should be achieved. Most of these activities and tasks and the project as well should be achieved in. Like I will say most of the time, I think for persons that are into what do you call it? Um the crypto people. I'm sorry I'm using you. There are a lot of crypto persons that they work on, I think, is it called a test net or something like that? Yeah. Whereby um they are in a beta stage, right? They're in a beta stage and they keep using their time to accumulate data, do research, and all of that, engage people in the softwares and features. And within maybe a year, you see that they would do some updates whereby they bring in new features, new linking, new mergers, and all of that, right? All of that is still a project. That's what you don't understand. There's a project manager managing all of this, even though there's a stipulated time, they still make sure that by the end of the year, they have achieved so much before they move into the next phase, right? So yeah, it depends, but it's very much advisable that even in milestones, there should be a time frame for it. Nobody wants to be working on a project that spans forever. Even though the pay may be good, yes, but it could get tiring. For me, it gets tiring. Yes, Joe. Okay, that's a very good point to say to the class. So, um, I think we should be taking a break for today. By the next class, we'll be able to be covering a lot. We just have like 11, 10 slides left for the next class. And I really hope this class was very much um, insightful to a lot of persons, and you were able to take back home a lot of things. You were able to understand Gantt charts better. You were able to understand um, the dependencies when it comes to the tools and softwares and features of project management. And I also told you how you can be able to use your Excel, your Google Sheets to check for templates of Gantt charts and tinker with it in your free time, right? And tinker with it in your free time, because the other ones that I know, you have to pay for them. And if you're willing to pay, sure. But if you're not, let's you could use that to just tinker and learn one or twos about it. So thank you so much for um being very engaging, being very kind, being very impactful in this class. Um, and I am so grateful to Bagai, Ijai, Stella, Priscilla, Adipe that kept on putting in their one foot forward to contribute to the class. Also, Stephen, you understand. So, thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next class. Have a blessed day. Bye.